It's November 18th, and Bryan Broaddus is already 20 players deep. It's not the way the season was supposed to go, but here we are. Welcome, everyone, to something that's not called Trust the Tape. That's Bryan Broaddus from 105.3 The Fan, DallasCowboys.com, Love of the Star podcast, all the time with Vach Lombardi, and here with me. And I'm Jeff from the DLLS Cowboys show. It's good to see you guys. I mean, we could preview Houston, but I'm pretty excited about the fact that you just said you're 20 players deep on November 18th when you told me you were going to start on December 1st.
Yeah. The title of this book is, it wasn't supposed to be this way. And that's where we're at right now. Just real quick on Houston, with their situation. And, we'll see what happens at cornerback tonight for them, with a couple of different spots, maybe, in the balance with some injuries. But, when you look at this team overall, I mean, I think offensively, there's some things that Dallas can take advantage of when they play defense against these guys. Can Dallas's defense, though, do anything against Houston's offense tonight? That's their, because I feel like the Dallas, Mike Zimmer and those guys they'll put pressure on the inside of this Houston offensive line. They will make it difficult. The way that they attack Philadelphia, Philadelphia, a much better offensive line. Zimmer will come up with a plan. But how many 3-and-outs is this defense going to have to endure? Yeah. Jeffrey, I think we're a lot closer to Trey Lance playing full-time, too. Just That's over fine. The weekend, some of the things that just some of the thoughts people have just had a chance to kind of reflect, and we'll see how Cooper Rush goes today. But we're a lot closer to Trey Lance playing full-time here for your Dallas Cowboys. So the season is what it is, and, tonight if they're going to get a win, Cooper Rush is going to have to throw the ball them more than 2 yards down the field, Yeah. But can you do it? But can you do it against against this front? No Will Anderson today for the Texans. We'll see with what the situation with Lassiter, the corner. I mentioned, the cornerback spot. Stingley dealing with a hip injury. They're kind of a little bit banged up back there, but it's a good defense. That Dallas has got to find a way to be a lot better on offense than they were last week, because if they're not, they're going to put their team in harm's way like they did against Philadelphia.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these weeks you end up looking at the team that they're going to play and you see a whole bunch of opportunities, and it's like, you know what? There is a way that the Cowboys can beat Houston Texans tonight, and it's not even that hard to picture. It's just that at the end of the day, at some point you have to have someone play quarterback, and I don't know if they can do that well enough. Like, I can look at this matchup and say, you know what? Houston, actually, their offense has had struggles. They actually don't run it very efficiently. So in theory, maybe as the Cowboys, you don't have to just overload. And now they play a balanced offense. And now Micah Parsons gets to rush against that offensive line. And now Houston's in trouble. Problem is, can I score any points?
That's the deal. And they get Nico Collins back, and that'll be huge for them. Because Nico Collins, this is Bobby Belt and I were doing Love of the Star last night, and Bobby brought up the fact that Houston, since he's been out, Houston hadn't scored a second half touchdown. And that's the one thing. Dallas has been getting crushed in the third quarter, by opponents. Well, Dallas has been getting crushed by a lot of things, but if you had, the thing with Dallas tonight though is no Jordan Lewis, you haven't had Bland the whole year. This part of it is really, really tough, and especially when you have to deal with Tank Dell coming out of the slot. That's where he's going to make a lot of his plays. I mentioned Nico Collins running slants, vertical routes, stuff like that. It seems like everybody comes back. They don't play for like 6 weeks, and then they come back against the Cowboys and play. It's kind of been the way it is all year, but there's a path to victory, but it's the path of victory of something that you haven't done very well really all year and have any kind of consistency on offense. There's ways to run the ball. I mean, you can run the ball on these guys. I'm not saying it's just hand it off. You're going to get 5-6 yards every time, but ball to the outside. They've had their struggles a little bit on the edges. No Will Anderson today. That's going to be how do you replace him? That's a big question for the Texans. But you don't show any balance tonight or get any kind of success. They're going to get you in third down, and when they get you in third down, only the Lions bring more blitz pressure on third down than the Texans.
Cooper will dice him up, bro.
Yeah.
Cooper will dice him up.
That's your, you've got to find somebody, who is going to win on the outside. Lamb dealing now with a little bit of a back ailment. It's just every time you want to say, hey, you can do this. Well, Dallas can't do that, or Dallas can't do this. And so, we'll see. They've kind of gone away from the running back by committee approach. Mike McCarthy always bitches about he doesn't get enough touches or they don't get enough run the ball. They don't have enough. You're the play caller, my friend. You're the play caller. If you want to load up and run the football, you feel free to load up and run the football. You do have that Cheesecake Factory menu in front of your face calling ball plays.
He's going after the coach again.
I'm going after the coach because I don't like the fact and I don't like the fact that the coach talks about what they need to do and he has the control to do it. And if he's terrified of his offensive line, well, come out. I say come out and say it. He's not going to say, "Hey, well, listen, my right tackle is really not playing well. My Hall of Fame right guard is not nearly as strong and powerful as he once was. I got a rookie center that gets kind of occupied. When he sees the squirrel, he kind of runs around. Squirrel. He's kind of that guy.
Oh no.
I got a left guard that can play at a very, very high level. And I got a kind of a revolving door right now at left tackle. If that's why he doesn't run the ball, then there's going to be a day where I'm sure he's going to stand up there maybe in week 15, and when this is all kind of when it's all coming down to the end, he's going to probably say, or maybe he said it to people in the walk off. We're not good enough in the offensive line to have any kind of consistent offense. We don't win nearly enough on the outside, to have any kinds of. So you and I will do a show, an autopsy on this season, and you and I were together on during training camp. We had a lot of opportunity, and I'm sure we'll go through each position and we'll say what we thought initially, or that people can go back and listen to the tape. Hell, I'm on so many damn platforms now. You could go watch the tape of me months ago, and I could probably tell you, I expect this to work and that to work. Really, none of that has worked. The injuries have been a problem. Coaching has been a problem. Just overall play has been the biggest problem.
So I see you guys in the chat. I want you to know that I see you.
Yeah.
I see this misspelling of both of our names. Thank you for being here, Michael.
Yeah.
And then
that's kind of French, very French. That's Broaddus. Broaddus, I liked.
Draft.
Yeah.
Draft.
Yeah.
Draft/Mingo. I see you guys. Just give me a second, because there's a couple of things that, as you were going through those different things, Brian, go off in my head that I want to ask you about. And number one, this is going to be tough because I know that everything has gone badly. So no matter who you talk about, people's reactions are going to be something that's negative. But I got to tell
quarterback. You're about to talk about this quarterback, aren't you?
I'm not.
Oh.
So next year, and all of our conversations basically will be about next year.
Mm-hmm.
But next year, when they have to revamp a lot of different position groups, one of them that the more and more I watch, the more and more I wonder if it's nice and cheap. Are you interested in Rico Dowdle being one of your two running backs next year?
Sure.
Yeah, I think he's playing well enough that I'm very interested in being what is Rico Dowdle? Is he now going to be a $6 or $8 million player? Then if so, no. But if he's a $4 million player, sure. Rico Dowdle and my third round pick. There's my backfield. And I think that works fine. I think he's played good football.
Yeah. I have no problem. I think there's certain players on this team. I would love to be able to bring back, I mentioned Jordan Lewis. I love one of the bright spots on your defense has been your nickel play. And if you look at all the metrics from your nickel defense, there's been some bad days, but there's also been some days where if you look at Jordan Lewis and the way he covers, the way he plays, I think Jordan Lewis deserves to be coming back here. So yeah, I mean, it's listen, they're about to, if you look at their list of the guys that are pending free agents, they're going to have to replace a lot of guys. You thought last year, Yeah.
Last year they just opted not to. Maybe they'll go.
And
that
that's what I'm
again.
saying. That's what I'm saying. You're in a situation now where this team is going to look, and you think they turned over the roster this year. Wait till next year when they don't bring back like 15 of these guys, and you're going to be like, whoa, okay, well, so now they've really relied on after the draft. All of a sudden, it's turned into trying to find TJ Bass, where you go out and they'll spend some money. The one thing Dallas will do, if you can get on them about not paying any free agent money, they will go out and buy some college free agents. If that college free agent's on their draft board, they will spend $200,000 on Span Ford, the tight end.
Whoops.
Exactly. They will spend that kind of money on players if they're on their draft board. Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones not against that at all. But that's what's going to have to happen. Their money, a lot of their money is going to be used to buy players. You talk about they're going to draft, 10 guys potentially? That's the number they've got of picks.
Is it still 10 after the Mingo deal?
Yeah, they got a 7 back.
Oh, okay. I think I said back. Okay. Yeah,
so they still have 10 picks. But one they did. We all know they lost the 4. Well, the 4's gone. We hope Mingo plays well, but it's gonna be hard to evaluate him.
I think you're the right guy to ask about the pick that they traded for Mingo because I feel
don't do that. Don't do that. I'm about to lose my damn mind. I
feel like you, as a former scout, are like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that the second day of the draft is going to end, and we're all going to go home for the night and eat marshmallows and have ourselves a nice little beverage, and we're going to have all night and the next morning to get ready for the next day of drafting. And I would have been right at the front of that line, not the back, the front of that line. And now I don't get to play. I feel like that would make you so mad.
It's going to make me really mad. I'm being mad thinking about it right now. I want to believe my hope. This is my hope. My hope is that I see enough from Mingo to make me feel like that if I didn't get a chance to take a receiver in rounds 1, 2, or 3, my hope is that Mingo is good enough that he's better than anybody I have on that board at wide receiver in the 4th round. That's my hope. But if Mingo comes in here and there's no targets, no receptions, no plays, no nothing, you're damn right I'm going to be really hot sitting there knowing that I probably at the end of day 2, I'll probably have maybe a couple of 3rd round grades on that board that I could have taken in the 4th. And it positions, you talked about running back in the 3rd. That seems very
I was just picking a random round.
No, I understand. I understand. Yeah.
2 to 4.
And I understand. I understand. But see, I'm just going to be real interested to see who's left on my board. And I'll do my damnedest as we do these shows to figure out who's on their board. Who did they not have an opportunity to draft? And, but I need Mingo to show me that he's better than any 4th round wide receiver that's on that board.
And Carolina probably feels like he's not going to show you that because
Carolina's about to have back-to-back picks to start day 3 in the draft.
Yeah.
How about that? How about Carolina taking day 3, 4th round pick, and your pick and moving up in the draft? How about that one too?
Yeah,
you're gonna help. You're gonna help. But this is what I also worry about a little bit, Jeff. That all of a sudden there is that player there. They can't get to, they're not going to pick where they initially were. They're not going to be able to do that. I worry that they take 2 picks and now move back into the round.
Right.
Is what I do. So now you've really used 3 picks
for Mingo.
For Mingo.
And what if he can't play?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you get so desperate that you can't? Do you get so desperate here that you can't? You're like, God, we got to have this guy. But then you use those 2 5th-round picks you have, and you get back in. But you're picking at the bottom of the 4th, that kind of thing. Instead of being where you were. But like I say, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna be not too good a state of mind when that day 3 starts.
Yeah, you're already pissed. That was about 90 seconds. That was about 90 seconds of pissed. Yeah. So hopefully Mingo can play,
Yeah.
Hopefully Mingo can play.
Can I ask you a question about this draft thing? And it's just drafting. If Dallas is picking in the eighth spot, and people are asking me, why would Dallas not consider a quarterback at 8?
I actually don't hate it, and I like Dak about as much as anybody does.
I got to figure these quarterbacks out, though. I mean, I haven't looked at. Like
that's
I
the
said,
thing. Is that you have to
figure out who the guy is,
right?
Who the guy
know
is,
that he's and know that he's not going to play for you for at least 2 years. That's probably the most realistic thing on Dak's timeline and his contract and all that. But I don't. I mean, I think quarterback is just so damn important.
Yeah.
That I don't mind. Like the Penix thing with Cousins it was weird, but also in theory, 2 years from now, you could.
If Atlanta is kind of falling apart a little bit, are they closer to playing Penix now?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean
that
they're at the top
NFC
of a crap
South
division, aren't they? So probably not.
Yeah, that NFC South's up for grabs though. That's an up for grabs deal. Tampa Bay, of all the teams that are struggling, Tampa Bay looks like the best. Tampa's lost to San Francisco late, Kansas City late.
Yeah,
I mean,
they 4 in a row.
They look like a team that Dallas is going to play them here late in the year, but Tampa's very capable of winning like 6 of the next 7 games if you look at their schedule.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wonder with another Atlanta loss or 2, are we closer to seeing Michael Penix playing here?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, if the Cowboys had a quarterback that they love and you're picking in the top 10, you don't do it all that often. I almost would never have a problem with picking a quarterback. Yeah. It's just such an important position. And if you have any doubts about where you are currently headed, then sure, fire at quarterback. I think we would have to acknowledge that we can look over the last however many years you want to, and even in the top 10, most of these guys are misses. So it might not work out for you, and it might turn out that Dak can still do more than you fear he can't, but like he wasn't playing his best football this year. And
sure wasn't.
He doesn't look he used to. And I got a little eyebrow up at Dak right now.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to draft what you think is the next thing that's a couple of years away, okay.
Do they get killed? Do they get killed by the fan base that are the Dak truthers or whatever? Do they get killed by those guys and gals?
Maybe, because I mean, I do understand that like
there's a lot of people that would absolutely pick a quarterback, but you just got to tell me, we got to know who that quarterback is. I'm not going to sit here right now and say, should you? I think you said it very well. I think you should absolutely consider a quarterback. Do I think they would? Probably not.
And honestly, like if you're looking at the Cowboys winning window, it should match up to the Dak and CD contracts. If you did pick a quarterback in that spot, it would be one of 2 things. You absolutely love a guy and thought, holy crap, this guy's going to be our guy for the next 8 years.
Right.
You can do that. Or it's a signal that we think Dak is on the decline, right? It's one of those things when in theory you just signed a guy that the winning window should be 2025 through 2028. That's when you're trying to win at football.
Yeah.
And so, you get a top 10 pick. Help me win at football. Don't pick the quarterback's backup and successor. So like I kind of get it no matter what happens. I kind of get it.
Yeah, I do too. I just kind of, me personally, I would sure look at it. But like I said, I need to figure out who that guy is. Yeah. I need to figure out, and can you get that guy at potentially at 8? Can you get that, where you're sitting, or, is that quarterback? I mean, are the top quarterbacks going to go in the first, 3 picks? I mean, I could pull up Tankathon and look at the teams that are currently, I think, the New England's are. I'll tell you, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry, we can track most of them down.
Well, I don't know about that, man. We
can track these guys down.
There's some teams that are playing pretty bad football right now.
That is true. God, Carolina, Jets, New England.
Well, see, Carolina could be an elimination game. You play them. Winner of that probably goes ahead of the other one.
You really got to get
Jets. Who else you got? New England.
So, actually, Jacksonville has the number 1 pick right now.
Jacksonville. I sent a message to Doug Peterson yesterday, and I told him, I said, hey, I'm really sorry the season's gone the way it has, and he got back and he goes, yeah, I am too. It's tough, and I'm like, well, hang in there kind of thing. Sometimes it feel, he knows the inevitable. I think it's what's going to happen. Jacksonville to me looks like that, that could be a general manager and a head coach. They probably do not want Trent Baalke making the pick at number 1. He's had, I think they had a pick where he picked Walker. They picked the edge from
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, they picked the edge.
Instead of Hutchinson.
Yeah, so they might be in a situation right now where there's going to be maybe a new general manager, new head coach in Jacksonville when this thing turns around.
Yeah, so you're right. There may be some tough teams to catch.
Yeah, you're going to
win games. Like they're not going to sit Lawrence down. Like they could win games.
Well, they need to try and win games. For Doug needs to try and win games. I think his fate might have already been sealed. Doug's one of these guys. It's like, hey, whatever happens. I'll be fine. I'll move on. But they're in a tough spot right now. But like you said, there's teams. How many of those teams up there are looking at a quarterback? Would the New York Jets be looking at a quarterback? Would they be looking at Would they be looking? I mean, their situation seems a little bit more dire than your situation.
I think plenty of these teams would be looking at quarterback. Jacksonville, no. Tennessee, yes. Cleveland, yes. Las Vegas, yes. Giants, yes. New England, no. Jets, yes. Carolina, maybe.
Yeah,
probably. So yeah.
See, there you go. Now, are you going to have a chance to take who would be a difference maker at quarterback for you? Probably not. I mean, hey, Patrick Mahomes was taken at 10. I should qualify my statement there. But,
sure. Yeah.
But that's if you determine the top quarterbacks, as you just read that list, might be gone, well before 6.
And that makes it even more important that we track some of these teams down and make them trade up to come get their quarterbacks so we can get out of there and get some more picks, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need picks, but like I said, this team has not done a great job the last 2 years. I mean, you will see what happens with this class.
Can I stop you on that? Because I wonder about that. And
I know 2 years. I know the class, the Mozzie Smith draft has not been a good one.
Yeah, no, but I don't disagree with you. Like they got over.
That's the one I'm thinking about because this one, I wish Nealon would be able to play, and we got to see Carson a little bit. We've get to see some of these guys play because of injuries and stuff like that. But I feel like the Mozzie Smith draft, the Luke Schoonmaker, that right there has been that's been a nightmare for you. That's not been a help at all.
Do you know or think or believe that, because I hear that like Schoonmaker was a McCarthy pick and was Mozzie a Dan Quinn pick? I don't know because it's
Will McClay stood up on that table. There's video from the war room of Will McClay. They remember it was Bergeron, the guard who's currently playing in Atlanta. It came down to Bergeron. I know in that draft, was that the Laporta draft, I believe, from the I think McCarthy, because Todd Archer and I talked the day of the draft, and Archer goes, man, how about this one? And I go, what do you got? And he goes, they really like Laporta, the tight end from Iowa. And I said, in the first round, he goes, yeah, they really do. And I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Would have been nice.
It would have been a really good pick. At the time, I couldn't believe it. I was like, ooh, that's a little rich, but anyway, yeah. I think Will McClay stood on the table for Mozzie Smith, and he might have did it on Dan Quinn's behalf. I never have got the story on that, but Will stood up in the draft room and said, hey, between Bergeron and Mozzie, he gave the reasons why you would take Mozzie Smith in that particular state in that particular time.
Yeah.
It's kind of, McCarthy. Yeah, head coaches for the Cowboys do have a say. They do have a say in what direction.
I hate that. Yeah. I hate it. Because there's like 9 reasons why it's a terrible idea to let your coaches have the picks. Right? Mm-hmm. Tell me what you want in a player. Got it. We'll factor it in.
Yeah.
But also, even if I go and factor in exactly what you want in players all the time, I hate that idea because every one of you could be fired at any moment. And now I've just made 8-10 picks for a guy who's not here. Let us pick the best players. And as a coach, how about you be adaptable, take the best players we can get and coach?
How do you feel about the Cincinnati Bengals roster?
Let me look at it.
Just look at Cincinnati's roster and just, we got, of course, you got Joe Burrow, you got Chase, you got
let's see. Who else you got?
Just got to go through their roster.
Hendrickson's a good player.
Was he a draft? He was drafted by them, right?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, he's been around a while though. So, I don't think they have a great roster, honestly.
Okay, well then.
They have the top of their roster's got some dudes, but
see, that's what I'm saying though. That's a coach picked roster. That's one of the smallest scouting staffs in the National Football League.
Yeah, coach, you can pick Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. The rest of it.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, they've tried on some offensive linemen. They've tried some in the past of some things, but that's an example of a coach-driven player personnel department. Have been for ever since the Brown family.
And they do that because they're cheap, right?
Well, you've got
the money in your scouting staff. Let them do their jobs.
Yeah, like Duke Tobin, and they had Duke Tobin there, and Duke does a pretty good job. But it is a coach-driven personnel department in a lot of ways. And so if you like the Cincinnati Bengals roster, that's a coach-driven, roster right there.
Maybe that's why they underachieve all the time.
Maybe so. They seem like they were the one team for a while there that was kind of beating Pat Mahomes.
And I think that's what happens is everyone is on the Mahomes bar. So the fact that the Bengals beat the Chiefs once, and it wasn't some offensive explosion, their defense beat the Chiefs.
Oh no,
now Joe Burrow's the best. Josh Allen got elevated because he almost beat Pat Mahomes.
You're still bitter that I like Josh Allen so much, aren't you?
Hey, you crushed it.
No, I that's the only time you'll ever hear me say, you know what, man, that first year.
He is going to get a lot of teams hurt because he's like the only quarterback prospect who couldn't complete passes in college that developed it in the NFL. And
I argued with you for days on this one because I told you he was throwing to cattle ranchers and pharmacists.
He was.
And you didn't want to believe me.
Well, he was playing against cattle ranchers and pharmacists. Get the ball where it needs to be, bro.
I'll tell you what, that Genty's playing against cattle ranchers and pharmacists right now.
Genty tore up Oregon.
He did. And Washington State, too. Washington State's got a pretty good record right now. No, I love Genty. I really do.
Stop trying to take a running back.
I know. I mean, you know what? You watch me. Watch me. I think that kid is special. I think your number one priority should be in the first round, just take the best player.
Oh, for sure. And they have that ability because they're missing a lot of things.
Take the best player. Whoever the best player on your board is, just take him. Your draft is far better. It gets your draft to be a good start. What you're trying to do is eliminate your mistakes. Mm-hmm. Whoever the best player on your board is, take him.
And it should be because
in the first round,
like McCarthy, I love that McCarthy called out Jerry Jones, just not directly last week.
Not signing his guys.
You've already signed free agents, and you can be true and pick the best player. But in their case, they should be able to pick the best player because no matter what he plays, they're probably bad at it. Yeah. I do want to shout out Vance because he's in the super chat. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Vance.
Watching Houston tape, Zim will feast on the interior O-line if they get behind the chains. Can you get them behind the chains?
Yeah, that'll be the key. We'll see with Joe Mixon. These kind of running backs give the Cowboys problems. They give them the Cowboys little problems. The guys that are physical can make you miss. Where Dallas needs to be really good is on the edges because Joe Mixon wants to bounce the ball, especially the Cowboys right. That's where Joe Mixon has his most success is running the ball to the offense's left, defense's right. Dallas has got to be really good off that right side tonight, with their game over there. We'll see with Parsons and Lawson and those guys. Can they hold up in that run game? And hopefully they will.
Brian, before we get out of here today, did you see my first scouting report on the draft? I put out a scouting report on Travis Hunter.
Oh, when did you do that?
The other day.
I swear to God, you're not muted or anything like that. I swear. Where did you put it? Did you put it on Twitter?
Yes, I said, here's my Travis Hunter scouting report.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I skipped.
Don't worry. I can read you the whole thing right now. Draft him? holy shit.
Yeah.
That was my scouting report. And I'm going to play him at receiver, by the way.
I am too.
He moves like Malik Neighbors moves, He has the unfair, I move better than you do. You cannot stay in front of me. Good luck.
Yeah. I think there's three really good receivers I've seen so far in this draft. I think Hunter from Colorado, McMillan from Arizona, and I'll tell you what, Burden from Missouri is a good player too. There's a lot to like about Luther Burden from Missouri. I think he's the perfect height for me, right around that 6 foot, thing. Same thing with Travis Hunter. Same kind of. I love those 6 foot kind of receivers because I think you mentioned how they move better. That Burden kid, you watch him at Missouri, you throw him the ball, run after catch. I think this league is so much run after catch now. Yeah. And you give me a guy that can do that. Travis Hunter, I think if you turn that scouting report in, I remember there was a guy, the total opposite. My boss Ron Wolf in Green Bay. There was a player that he turned in. I don't want to name the guy, but he turned in a report. Ron usually was really detailed on his report, even if he was rejecting a player. He really was detailed. And he typed on the report, and it was a hard copy report. He says, "No effing way."
Oh, that sounds like your report during a break one time when we weren't on the air. But
exactly. Yeah, we were on the air, but we weren't on the air. That kind of thing. Yeah, but he typed those in. No effing way. So your report would be really good. It would pass. We would put it in the books, and when it was time to read, all right, let's go. Ron, what do you have on the player? No effing way. Jeff, what do you have on the player? Holy ass. Yeah.
Okay, is that a good holy shit? Yes, it is, guys. Go ahead and pull the trigger on that one. That'll be fine.
I like it. I like the idea there. I think that when you start, man, so far.
I'm going to watch Burden as soon as we're done.
Yeah, watch Burden and tell me what you think of Missouri's number 3. He's a really good run after catch. He lit up my alma mater last year, LSU. I mean,
everybody did.
Everybody's done that, especially some this year. We're falling apart. Right
you got
now.
A championship recently. You're not allowed to worry about anything for like.
I'm not. It's a shame that we are not interested in football sometimes.
Oh no.
But we're not interested in football sometimes.
All right.
Anyway, I follow 2 teams that aren't interested in football at times, which is really
that's lovely.
Amazing.
We have a guy in the chat wants to know what time the pregame starts on the Fan today.
Oh well, thank you very much. Well, you got go ahead and tell them. Don't you have a pregame show too?
Yeah, mine's 30 minutes, baby. Starting at 6:45 p.m. Okay. I'll fire a link in here to the chat where you can see where our content is. And
check Jeff out, but also check us out at 105.3 The Fan between if you want to. 4 o'clock Central. So we go from 4 to 7 today. We have all the normal guests we have. Chris, by the way, one of the best segments we do is with Christy Scales. Christy's down there on the field several hours for the games, talking to coaches, talking to players, getting insight on stuff that's going on. Man, if I just did an hour with Christy Scales on a pregame show, I'd be golden because she gets a lot of information down there. So give us a listen if you could.
Yep, she's a beast. All right, Brian, have a great day. Enjoy all of your broadcasting, and I'm going to go watch Luther Burden.
Please do.
All right, remember, everybody, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everybody. We love you. Be easy.